on this evening with apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received by Lady Dr. Atkins, Ibbotson, Van May. Is there any other apologies?
Councillor Rayner.
Councillor Emma Anderson.
The next item is confirmation of minutes for the last meeting. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes for the council meeting held on the 8th of 2018 be approved as the correct record? Is there a seconder for that proposal?
Second.
Thank you. Does anyone want to comment on the accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? Please remember that any comment, question, or proposal can only be about factual accuracy of the
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If members turn to page 4 of the COU 74, item D, there are some amendments, suggested amendments in front of you all. With regard to the first bullet point on page 4, Councillor Beaver's question was more correctly related to concerns over proposals for a new access road over the rail line, rumours of the sale of parts of the track and the impact this would have on the reinstatement of the rail line. On the fifth bullet point, Councillor Murphy was specifically asked whether he would consider putting forward an amendment to the Constitution so that councillors from all affected wards could call in a planning application. It is a matter of fact that both of these questions were asked, and given the public interest in both issues, the specific questions and the responses should be recorded. Thank you.
Would you please advise on whether or not the amendment is valid?
I'll second that. I want to second that, please, Mrs. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the Constitution states, members can propose to add or remove
Does any member wish to speak for or against the amendment, or can we move straight to the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was hoping that this had stopped. I would not support this amendment because the normal convention in the council minutes is not to specify in any detail comments made by individual councillors. In December, I brought forward to this council about the sound recording and then the publishing on the website regarding our meetings. That's now been implemented, and it enables any councillor or any interested party to listen in full to the exchanges between councillors which take place in the chamber at council meetings. Thereby they complement the minutes and provide greater transparency and accountability. I will therefore propose a further amendment suggesting that in future the minutes of full council meetings, just like the cabinet meetings, should simply refer in a more concise style to the documents considered and the decisions taken, with a footnote providing a link to the recording of the meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does any members wish to speak on the amendment proposed by Councillor Taylor?
No, I'm just wondering whether that's is Councillor Henderson suggesting a second amendment, and is that valid?
He's indicated he's going to suggest an amendment. So first of all, we need to take your amendment first, and then have a debate on that and a vote on that. And the outcome of that will determine whether Councillor Henderson proposes an amendment, and then we will debate on that.
Okay. there were key questions and there were non-key questions. I think on this occasion there's two key questions and the answers to them are important to the public. Yes, you could trawl through an hour's recording or more, but I don't see why the public, or for that matter, members in this council chamber should have to trawl through them 6 months later, 12 months later to find out what was said. It's just, it's a true and accurate record of what took place, and therefore they should be in the minutes, and hopefully people will support these amendments. Thank you.
We will now vote. Can I please?
Those in favour, please show.
Those against?
Wow.
Councillor Henderson, if you wish to propose
An amendment.
please do so now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I propose that the following words be added to the resolution confirming the minutes of the last meeting. That the Chief Executive be instructed in future to write the minutes of full council meetings in a more concise style, referring only to the documents considered and the decisions taken, and that a footnote be included in each set of minutes, providing a link to the recording of the meeting available on the council's website. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Payne, will you please advise on whether or not the amendment is valid?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the amendment would be valid, then we would need to revisit the Constitution and amend the Constitution.
In that case, is there a second before the amendment that has been proposed?
Do any other
Members wish to speak for or against this amendment? Councillor Stevenson? Do you wish to speak, Councillor Stevenson?
Yes, I'm obliged to you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm not for or against. It depends what my group leader wants me to do on this, and I shall take her advice. David, you mentioned the word concise. Well, I haven't got my Shakespearean dictionary with me, so I don't know what you mean by concise. Can you put some flesh on the bones? Can you tell us really, because I didn't understand, Madam Mayor, what David was talking about. It was like going round the maypole. What difference is your suggestions here going to make to exactly what Councillor Fylde is asking? What you really need to tell us, you need to really spell it out exactly what concise means. And I'm awaiting with, open arms to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm very disappointed to see David has joined the esoteric club. I mean, this is right in line with the trying to make accountability within this chamber more and more difficult to do. Now, the sole reason for a council meeting, the only reason we're all called here, is to hold those people there to account. Now, every time you put an obstacle in the way of holding those people to account, you diminish yourselves, ourselves, and you diminish the council itself. I think I'm very disappointed in David. He's just joined the club. We'll keep it as esoteric as possible, make it as difficult to find out information about the council as it is. I mean, when I joined this council, you could go on the website and find out any information going back 15 or more years into any committee, the minutes of any committee, the reports of any committee, and you could get them just like that. Now you've got to hunt them down, chase them all over. They're hidden behind this box and that box. They're esoterically hidden in a corner. And being concise is exactly not the opposite of what they're going to be. They're going to be that concise, we won't be able to find them. It's a disgrace. I'm ashamed of you.
Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've never heard anything as ridiculous in my life. Talk about inclusivity, I can't say it, sorry. What about the profoundly deaf? Leader, what about the profoundly deaf? How do they get to look at the minutes of what happened in this chamber? This is absolutely ridiculous. It's a spiteful amendment. We've asked a question. In one of those questions that was asked at the last full council, Councillor Murphy replied to Councillor Fylde when he asked whether councillors could, from other wards, we could put an amendment in so that councillors could ask on planning applications from other wards, calling planning applications, and his answer was a straight blank no. The people need to know that. That's what you answered. It's recorded. I have got access to that because I can hear. What about the people that haven't got hearing? What about them? So you're excluding all of those disabled people by not being able to access that. So it's absolutely ridiculous. It needs to be written down. It needs to be recorded. It's for future reference, and I just think that this should fall and you should withdraw this amendment. Thank you very much.
Councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I think if we listen to carefully what the Chief Executive said, he said it would be a valid amendment. He didn't say it was a valid amendment, and I think that needs to be made clear.
For clarity, Madam Mayor, it is a valid amendment.
Councillor Fylde. You don't mean anything in Wyre.
This amendment will result in further dumbing down of the minutes. It's a further attack on democracy. It's further bad news for the residents of Wyre. It shows a total lack of respect for those residents, and I, for one, will be voting against it. Thank you.
Any other...
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just going back to what Lorraine said, the minutes are recorded, yes, for people who've got a hearing difficulty or profoundly deaf, will it be subtitled as well, and will it be broken down into BSL and not just English, because deaf people can't understand English? Thank you.
Clarification for members, obviously the minutes that are if we do receive a request, provide those minutes in other format, for example, members will vote in a minute, and if the amendment is carried, if we were to receive a request from somebody with disability who's profoundly deaf, then due to then provide a full transcript of the recording.
We will now vote on the amendment.
Councillor Henderson, as the proposer of the amendment, do you wish to respond to
comments made?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, I wasn't going to, but I've got to be honest, I think I've got to. When I took up this position, I said to all of you, everybody's inclusive. I've listened for time and time again about the complaints about the minutes and extending these council meetings. Here we are now, 20 minutes in, we're still only talking about the minutes. Talking to the officers, I came up with the first idea of let's record it. Then you can all listen to it. Then you can cherry pick it. You can do what you want with it. You can tell other people about it. It's there. You can listen to it. And now, because you don't like it, because of all of a sudden you thought of a reason why not to like it, the honeymoon period is over. Well, if the honeymoon period's over, fair enough, it's over. I have no other comments to make at all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now vote on the amendment. Those in favour, please show. No abstentions. Thank you. The amendment is carried. We now need to confirm the substantive motion which I suggest we do in two parts. First, for those members present at the last meeting who are in favour of confirming the minutes circulated with the agenda as a correct record, please indicate. Those against? Any abstentions? Would members now please vote to formally confirm the minute with the addition of the approved amendment? Those in favour, please show. Those against? No abstention. The minutes of the last meeting as amended are therefore approved. The next item on the agenda is declarations of interest. As this is the budget meeting, I need to remind you that on the 6th of September 2012, the Council passed a resolution granting a dispensation under Section 33 of the Local Act 2011. Enabling all councillors to speak and vote on issues relating to the setting of the council tax. Unless any member is disqualified from voting under the provisions of Section 1 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992, because there are two or more payments in arrears with their council tax. Councillors do not, therefore, need to individually declare any interest in agenda item 11 just because they are council taxpayers. On that basis, do any members or officers have any interest to declare on any items included on the agenda for this meeting? Thank you. The next item is announcements. I have two announcements with a little add-on. There will be a fashion show by Anne-Marie at Marley Village Hall tomorrow night. Tickets are £7 each, and that includes coffee, tea and biscuits. There are still a few tickets available if anybody hasn't yet purchased. We don't turn anybody away, not for charity pay. I'm reminded that the Mayor's Charity Ball will be held at Wyre on Friday, the 20th of April 2018 at 7 p.m. Are now available from Andrew Mullen at a cost of £37.50 each. And the other announcement, just the add-on, we circulated raffle tickets at the last council meeting, and there was one or two councillors that didn't get raffle tickets. I have some more, so the Mayor's Parlour after this meeting. I wouldn't like to look out on a weekend for two at the Lake District. Gary's keeping his hand in his pocket this time. Thank you very much, councillors. There are no other announcements, so we will move to the next item, which is public questions and statements. However, there are no questions from members of the public this evening. The next item is questions on notice from councillors. Again, there are no such questions this evening. So the next item is the report on the review of the Members' Allowances Scheme 2017-18. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce the report of the Service recommendation you have at the
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report is before the members. The recommendations are there from 3 point to 3.8. I have no comments to make on it, apart from I would like certainly my, and I hope the whole council's thanks, to be passed on to the independent remuneration panel. Unfortunately, they can't be here this evening, but if we would pass on our thanks to them for the fair and very informative work that they've done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is there a seconder for the proposal? Are there any comments, questions or amendments? No, thank you. Proposer of the recommendations, would you please respond to the debate? So you can't, thank you. Thank you. That concludes. So we will now move to the vote. Please vote on the recommendations, please show.
That's
Unanimous, thank you. The recommendations are approved. The next item is the pay policy statement for 2018-19. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendations?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, the report is before the members. The recommendation is 3.1. The members are asked to note and approve the pay policy statement. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Are there any comments, questions or amendments? No, so we don't need that one. Those in favour, would members please now vote on the recommendations that the pay policy statement for 2018-19 be approved? Those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous. Unanimous. Thank you. The recommendation is approved. The next item is the update of the business plan. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendations?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, the report is before the members. The recommendations are at 3.1 to approve and support the business plan.
Is there a seconder for that proposal? Are there any comments, questions or amendments?
Councillor Fyle.
Councillor Fyle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just waiting for some amendments that are now going to come around you, so if you just give me 30 seconds, I'll pass some of these amendments around. Do some more, yeah.
Well, if we just pass them down, is that okay?
Yeah.
Pass them down.
Do we get one?
Similar to what I think they are. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. No, the more economic housing and if you move and economic housing employment, housing you can't have housing. Well, it's got to be and it's economic and how can you do that?
Could I just provide some context for these amendments that are now in front of you? The business plan refers to promoting economic, housing and employment growth, but neglects to mention transport. Some of the projects listed will help to, this is on page 39, some of the projects listed will help to meet the council's aspirations, but it is not sufficient just to say adopt a new local plan to manage and deliver development through to 2031. Any old local plan to manage and deliver any local plan won't provide us with a positive end result unless we also manage our infrastructure, in particular transport and open space. With that in mind, the Labour amendments before you are suggested to the business plan on page 39. I won't make mention of them all, but I will make a few observations. With regard to the improve the transport infrastructure suggested new key programme and project, you may say that transport is more to do with LCC and government, but this council needs to take a stand and actually do something for their residents. How Wyre achieves an improvement could be via the Transport Authority, S106 money or new housing bonus funding. At the moment it appears most folk that Wyre does not care, let alone do anything about fundamental problems. With regard to the measures, enterprising Wyre, in terms of numbers and percentage of working age residents employed within Wyre, I think this would be a better measure of economic growth and employment than the current measures. And with regard to the satisfaction levels with transport infrastructure, it is important to understand the level of contentment. Adopting this would show the council understands the concerns about infrastructure. And with regard to the average daily commute distance, this will be a good specific measure of the employment situation here in Wyre. It is an indictment of the employment situation in Wyre that 50% of Wyre workers commute out of Wyre. This alone is reason enough for the data to be obtained and the trend monitored. Adopting this would show the residents the problem is not being swept under the carpet. And with regard to healthier Wyre and the suggested new programme and project to meet or exceed open space targets in Wyre, this would ensure Wyre takes better account of the impact of house building. There is a clear link between the amount of open space and quality of life and the health of residents. So it's really important that this council starts to get a grip of something it and its predecessors prior to 1974 have failed to do, and has resulted in a shortfall in many towns. Targets may be difficult to achieve, and it may be that this is not achieved via the new local plan and the associated infrastructure delivery plan, but at least the problem will be recognised and allow us to produce policies to tackle whatever issues there are. The amendments are before you and are proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there a seconder for the amendment that has been proposed?
I'd like to second that amendment, Madam Mayor, and
Reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Beaver. Mr Payne will say that the amendment complies with... No.
Well, that's me, yeah. It does.
Yeah. It's got to go to procedure rule number 17.6.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And
any member can propose any amendment in terms of wording of the business plan, because it's not actually the main context of the report. The report is the one over which I would advise whether an amendment is acceptable or not. So the wording, as proposed by Councillor Fylde, is something that members can debate if they so wish. However, it is my role to also provide you with advice and guidance, not just on policy matters and procedural matters, but in terms of what has been proposed. In terms of the first amendment, if you were minded to accept the amendment which includes and improve transport connectivity, that is something that we could include in the business plan, because the key word which you need to focus on is promote. So it's not a responsibility that you have, it's about promoting. So it's promoting economic growth, promoting housing, promoting employment, and promoting improved transport connectivity. So in my opinion, but it's your decision, I think that is a reasonable proposed amendment. In terms of the second amendment under key programmes and projects in respect of the new local plan, again, I consider it is acceptable to include the wording and infrastructure delivery plan, because the infrastructure delivery plan will be developed as part of the local plan process, and that also lines through to 2031. However, I do not consider it's appropriate to include the words that robustly deals with all infrastructure requirements, including transport and open space, because the local plan will set the policy. And if you are minded to accept the first amendment, that covers the improved transport connectivity. In terms of improve the transport infrastructure, to me that infers that you as members will make decisions on transport infrastructure improvements and delivery. We are not a transport authority. No. We do not have that responsibility, and therefore you could not deliver transport infrastructure improvements. That would be a matter for the County Council or Highways England. In terms of the measures, those that are proposed in terms of the amendment, we do have data on some of them. However, that data is out of the census, which is every 10 years. The business plan does not cover a length of 10 years, and therefore I do not consider it will be appropriate for you to include the measures as proposed, because they're covered in the census, which is only every 10 years. In respect of healthier Wyre, again, my advice is not to accept exceeding open space targets in Wyre area and by town. How you measure that, how you deliver that is, for me, a big question mark over, and therefore you wouldn't, in my opinion, accept the measures. But it's for you to debate, and it's for you to determine whether those amendments as proposed are acceptable to you or not acceptable to you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do any members wish to speak for or against the amendment? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's a shame that this has been brought before full council. The business plan's brought to Overview and Scrutiny Committee to discuss and have a look at the business plan. Time to discuss any amendments that we wish to discuss with the leader and the service director and the chief executive. And I think we could have had time to discuss these there then. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Fylde, as a proposal of the amendment, do you wish to respond to the comments made?
It's not, thank you, Madam Mayor, it's not so much responding to the comments made, but I will sum up. This council can continue to bury its head in the sand, or it can begin to recognise the inextricable link between housing, employment and transport. The low-wage economy and lack of job prospects here in Wyre is why 50% of Wyre workers commute out to the borough. Not only is this the major cause of traffic congestion, but it's also a disincentive for new employers to set up in Wyre. Wyre continues to wade through huge housing building projects whilst conveniently ignoring the impact. It is a downward spiral this authority not should, but must get itself out of. We build more homes, but then don't improve the transport infrastructure or the employment prospects in the area, resulting in more commuting, more congestion, and more of a disincentive for new employers to locate here. It has to stop. We need a joined-up approach that strategically deals with the employment, housing and transport issues together, whilst also fully recognising the need to meet open space targets for the good of the whole population. This council can either grasp the nettle or continue to serve the residents of Wyre badly. Sometimes you have to pick a task from the hard-to-do pile, and if we don't take on that challenge, Wyre's downward spiral will continue.
We will now vote on the amendment. Those in favour, please show. Those against? No abstentions?
No abstentions.
No.
No abstentions.
No. The amendment is lost. Are there any other amendments or any further comments or questions on the leader's report on the business plan? Councillor Lees.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Really just touch on certain points that Councillor Fylde just made, but mine is specifically looking at housing developments. I mean, we all know that Wyre's housing is now being multiplied throughout the borough, and we're building 4 5-bedroomed houses. I'm thinking about the affordable housing and the housing for young people that live and have lived in Wyre all their lives. And I would like to hope that certainly at a planning meeting that I had the other day, my words were answered in a sense, because a developer actually did 30% of it was affordable housing, which is to be commended for, but we don't see that. Sometimes the 106 agreement is often used as a smokescreen to reduce the number of affordable houses for other reasons, and I hope that we as a council will ensure that we keep up with the attempt to ensure that developers do meet the commitment to provide affordable housing. And I know if we look around the country, there are parts of the country that actually do discriminate on behalf of their people that live in their area. I'm thinking of Liverpool as one, and we should be thinking about the young people of Wyre who are having to leave the area because they can't afford to buy the new houses that are being built. And I do hope that members will bear that in mind. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Henderson, as the proposer of the motion, would you please respond to the debate?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Fylde's comments and Councillor Lee's comments literally fall into the same category as such. Councillor Jones was quite right when she said that the comments for the amendments that Councillor Fylde had made actually had gone through ONS, which is where you would alter them, of which he is a member. But also the comments as well relate to the planning policy, the local plan, of which Councillor Fylde is a member. And Councillor Lee's comments are the same as well, insofar as it all comes under the local plan. Councillor Lees knows full well that I'm in full support of 30% affordable housing, always have been, from being a member of the planning committee to sitting here today. I also know the tricks that some developers get up to try to reduce the affordables. But that's a case for the planning committee to look at. I understand where Councillor Lees is coming from, and I share his concerns as well, as I'm sure that we all do, that we should look to the affordable housing development and we should try to get as much as possible. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. Would members please now vote on the recommendations that the updated business plan be approved? Those in favour, please show. Those against? 11. No abstentions, no abstentions. The recommendation is approved. The next item is the council tax for 2018-19. We need first to deal with two procedural issues. I intend, in line with the normal convention and in accordance with my discretion under Procedure Rule 16.4, to allow the Leader of the Council, when proposing the budget and council tax, and the Leader of the Opposition, when commenting on the proposals, any amendment to it, to speak without being restricted by a time limit. All other speakers in the debate will, as usual, be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. I also propose that Procedure Rule 16.6b be suspended to allow a single debate to be held on any amendments proposed, the budget as a whole and the setting of the council tax. At the end of that debate, there will first be a vote on any amendments proposed, and if the amendments are defeated, a vote will then be held on the proposals made by the Leader of the Council. Would you please indicate whether or not you agree to my proposal? Those for?
Yes, unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now start the debate. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce your report and formally propose the budget recommendations for the Cabinet and the formal council tax resolutions as recommended on page 41 of the agenda. You have unlimited time to do so.
Within reason. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Wyre's 2018 budget. Madam Mayor, I should like to present the Conservative budget proposals for 2018-19. Let us look first at just how much we collect in council tax, which is roughly 63 million. If we add in business rates of 25 million, then in total we collect about 88 million pounds, of which we get to keep just 12 million, or 14% of the total monies collected. If we could retain 20%, or nearly 18 million, who knows just how much more we could do in the borough. The council tax. The government announced last year that they would allow districts to increase council tax by up to 3%, or £5 a year on a bandy equivalent property. We have decided to follow the government's lead to maximise our spending power potential whilst keeping costs low for residents and continue providing Wyre's vital frontline services. This equates to a rise of £5.63 a year on a Band D property, or just under 11 pence a week, and means that the overall cost for all Wyre services will be 53 pence per day. Since 2010-11, Wyre's council tax has been increased 3 times. In total, an increase of £13.78 since the start of the decade, or £1.72 each year for the last 8 years, which equates to less than the cost of a lottery ticket. Over the 8 years up to and including 2018, we have lost 6.7 million in funding, which is equivalent to 75% of our grant back in 2010, which was 8.9 million. What can we expect for the future? Provisional grant funding for the final year of the multi-year settlement in 2019-20 shows a reduction of 393,000 or 11% on 18-19. Over the 9 years up to and including 19-20, we will have lost 7 million in funding, which is equivalent to 79% of our grant back in 2010-11. So how have we compensated for the reduction in funding? Well, we've prepared for it over the years by reducing spending, not increasing the level of borrowing, and balancing the books through efficiency savings and prudential financial management. We also have an excellent track record on efficiency savings, which has protected residents from the full impact of reductions in funding. We've saved over 5.6 million between 2010-11 and 2016-17. That's an average of £808,000 per year. And we predict that future savings will take us over the £6 million mark. Wyre has never shied away from challenging how we deliver services or making difficult decisions, and we will continue to do so. This means continually reviewing how we operate and whether services meet the needs of our community. Let's not forget that we have lost the cost-sharing funding from the previous administration at LCC to the tune of £980,000. That was towards our waste service, and so we decided to introduce a green waste charge. We were the first in the region to do so, bringing in this year to date £730,000. What does that budget mean for residents? We've been steadfast in protecting and improving council services so residents consistently receive high standards of delivery. The Mount in Fleetwood is currently undergoing a revival, and we have restored the seaward side of the Grade 2 registered gardens to their original 19th century design. A bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund to transform the landward side, including Pavilion, Rose Garden and Gate Lodge, is currently being developed. The Waste and Recycling Service were successfully shortlisted in both the Best Public, Private Sector Partnership and Best Team of the Year categories in the National Association of Public Excellence Service Awards, competing against other service sectors in all local authorities. The public toilets provided in Wyre continue to be of a high standard, and the authority was placed in the top 5 of the National Loo of the Year Awards. 4 parks in Wyre have Green Flag Awards, including Memorial Park Fleetwood, which also received the prestigious Green Heritage Award, all in recognition of how they are cared for. In addition, there was double success at the RHS Northwest in Bloom Awards, with Vicarage Park, Poulton winning a gold medal and Memorial Park winning a distinction in the Municipal Parks category. And finally, the Mount won the Prize Heritage Award, the Civil Mayor of Tameside Trophy. 3 of Wyre's beaches have achieved Seaside Awards, acknowledging them as being amongst the best in the country. Our latest Life in Wyre survey results show that 82% of our residents are satisfied or very satisfied with where they live. So investing in Wyre. We are extremely successful in securing funding from external sources, such as the Environment Agency and Heritage Lottery, which allows us to keep investing in the borough. In 2018-19, 96% of our capital spending will be financed by external grants and contributions, and the examples to date include 63 million to replace the sea defence at Rossall Gardens, 1.6 million to distribute in disabled facilities grants. We've been successful in attracting £30,000 in Lancashire environmental funding for a project at King George's Playing Field, and the main works will take place in 2018-19. We're also generating income by making best use of our assets. including creating a new MOT centre at the Cops Road depot and finding new tenants for empty properties. We're operating our venues in a more business-orientated way, maximising opportunities to generate revenue and constantly looking for new ways to earn income. At the same time, we've ensured that all our fees and charges remain low for community use. We've created a new digital hub facility at the Fleetwood Market in partnership with the Citizens Advice Bureau. This allows residents to seek advice and support on council services and learn how to self-serve in future, which also brings potential shoppers to the market as well. So to grow Wyre's economy, business creation and expansion is a priority at Wyre. We have an excellent track record in supporting businesses through our Wired Up network. The aim is to bring business together, to buy from each other, and as their business grow, they then employ more people in the local economy who spend their wages locally. Wyre's role in the successful bid for the Hill House Business Park in Thornton to become an enterprise zone means it will now benefit from investment worth millions and government support to expand, potentially creating many jobs in the area. Working with our partners, we are developing a master plan to be consulted on at the start of 2018 for the site, using £50,000 of commercial support grant from central government to help build and strengthen our plans for this important business zone. The 4th annual Wyre Business Awards event was held in November at the Marine Hall, attracting a record number of nominations, 70 of them, and attendees, making it a great success and a fitting showcase for Wyre's businesses. Wyre's local plan was submitted in January to the Planning Inspectorate, a significant step in the approval process, with further stages taking place in 2018. A new Blackpool-Fylde and Wyre Economic Prosperity Board is being established, replacing the former Economic Development Company, to better drive forward economic growth and regeneration projects across the Fylde coast. And to show our leadership, the first year's meetings will be held here in Wyre Borough. Protecting our vulnerable residents. We have committed for the 6th year running to protect our most vulnerable residents by limiting the contribution to the localised council tax support scheme for those previously on full benefit to 8.5%, which is significantly lower than neighbouring local authorities. The Citizens Advice Bureau will continue to receive funding from Wyre at the same level, and we continue to provide a free debt service advice, which helps those affected by welfare reforms, and the care and repair service, which offers free advice and support to both the over 60s and disabled. So how does the future look? Well, with an excellent track record in identifying efficiency savings and doing more for less, Wyre is in a strong financial position, and we're planning ahead for continued reductions in funding over the coming years. Residents will continue to benefit from investments thanks to an approach of investing now to save money in the future and our track record of bringing in external funding. As we ensure that we make best possible use of our assets, taxpayers can be certain of value for money and be reassured that we will negotiate improved community facilities where alternative options are required. We will continue to generate investment and encourage development in the borough by providing a supportive business environment and making Wyre an attractive place to live and to work. Communities remain at the heart of everything we do, and we will continue to find new ways of working, improving our services and providing excellent value for money. Where does the council tax go? Council tax, as you know, is made up of a number of payments to the authorities that provide services in the area. Wyre Council, told you how much we get. Lancashire County Council, Police and Crime Commissioner, Combined Fire Authority, Parish and Town Councils. And as I pointed out at the beginning of my presentation regarding the 63 million of council tax that Wyre collects. Wyre Council is the billing authority and collects council tax on behalf of all these agencies. However, Wyre's portion of the monies collected represents only 11%, or £193.94 per house on a Band D property, the total amount of your council tax bill. Madam Mayor, I should like to say thank you to all the staff at Wyre and our volunteers. I could pick out individuals, but that would be wrong. It's made up of a team of caring individuals working for all in Wyre. Madam Mayor, this budget keeps Wyre in its rightful place as a top performing council, and I commend this budget and its recommendations to members. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there a seconder for the proposal?
Second that, Madam Mayor, and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Beavers, you now have an opportunity to comment on the budget, and if you wish to propose any amendments to it, you have an unlimited time to do so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to propose an amendment, and I'd like to ask if I need to read this out, or will this be minuted in the minutes for next time?
Yes, as you provided. Sorry, Madam Mayor. My advice is yes, as you provided it, we can minute this.
So I just want to say, wait one.
Madam Mayor, whilst the amendments are going around, could I ask whether I need to declare an interest in this as one of the amendments relates to Jubilee Gardens, and I am a member of Friends of Jubilee Gardens?
That would have been at the beginning, wouldn't it? The item on the agenda. You know financial gain?
Sorry, Councillor Bill, it's a non-pecuniary interest, so you can declare it as that. So you can still take part in the debate and make your comments. Yes, and vote.
Yes.
It's a non-pecuniary interest. Thank you.
It didn't say, did it?
Maybe it's just twigged.
Because it's on there.
Maybe it's just twigged. I'm on the committee, but actually that's 20 grand's not going to him.
No, it's not gain personally, is it?
No, there's no way they're going to prove it. There's no way you can vote.
Right, Councillor Beavers, would you like to speak on your amendments? You have unlimited time to do so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would anybody like me to read the amendment out, or is everybody ready? Yeah? Okay? Yeah. Right. Proposal 1 is free swimming. The children of Fleetwood have enjoyed free swimming during the school holidays for the last 2 years. This has been funded by my Lancashire County Council members' grant. Sadly, because of Conservative cuts, the Conservative leadership have withdrawn the membership grant, the members' grant. This was the only tool left which enabled Lancashire County councillors, like myself, to fund local projects within our communities. 1,688 children and young people in Fleetwood enrolled into the free swimming scheme. It has been an outstanding success within my community and has played a major part into getting our young people to engage in physical sports and activities, which has improved all their health and well-being. Around 400 people drown in the UK every year. Nearly 60 of these are children. It is believed that the vast majority are preventable. By providing supervised swimming in the school holidays in our public swimming pools, we in Wyre can hopefully prevent this from happening to one of our own. 7 emergency rescues and 73 cases of people needing assistance was recorded in Wyre last year. So let us protect our young people. This is the right thing to do. This will have an amazing impact on the future health of our young people. I believe that this will be a small price to pay. The Youth Shelter Scheme. The purchase of portable youth shelters to be used within Wyre will, I believe, help us to manage antisocial behaviour within our borough. The shelters will be placed in areas where the young people are gathering. The youth shelters are a way to actively engage with our young people. It is also a way of combating antisocial behaviour issues. This isn't just a Fleetwood problem, this is a borough problem. Together with our stakeholders, we will be able to engage and hopefully reduce the instances of antisocial behaviour within our communities. Our children's services are being drastically reduced because of cuts being imposed on the county council. So it will be up to us, the district councils, to protect our children and our communities. Antisocial behaviour is a massive cost to our council. Hopefully, by building on the fantastic work already being done by our fantastic Wyre Borough staff and partners, we can make a difference and reduce the instances of criminal damage happening in our communities. By providing this facility for our young people, we are giving them a message that we care about them. Hopefully, they will collectively start to take care and protect their local communities. Our officers are engaging with our young people and we are making a huge difference already. Let's give them the tools to take it further. Let's make a real difference. Please support our second proposal. Our last proposal is the Jubilee Gardens. We are all aware of the disastrous decision to demolish Clevele's Jubilee Gardens in 2005 and the car park within that is never used, built in 2012, costing the princely sum of £400,000. This came about because, as a council, we decided that we knew best. We ignored our residents and did it anyway. The result hasn't been a happy one. But the Friends of Jubilee Garden have many amazing ideas on how to turn it into something that the community can start to have pride in again. One of these is a community cafe situated on the underused car park that cost £400,000. They hope that this will fund future projects that will bring the Jubilee Gardens back to the beautiful place it once was. I believe that this council should be financially supporting the beginnings of this project. I believe we owe this to Clevele's and the surrounding area. We, as a council, ignored the residents and we should correct our mistakes. If this donation is given, the Friends of Jubilee Gardens will help, with the help of our officers, they will be able to set up their community cafe on the underused car park. Once this is established, they can start the bidding process for financial support from other sources. by enabling them to start the restoration project of the Jubilee Gardens, we will be empowering them and our residents to take control of their community. Please support all three Labour proposals. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for the amendment proposed by Councillor Beevers? Councillor Fylde.
I will second the amendment, but I have to declare a non-pecuniary interest in the third part of the amendment, as I'm a member of Friends of Jubilee Gardens. I understand that allows me to speak and vote, so I reserve my right to speak at this moment in time. Thank you.
Are there any... Sorry, Councillor. Thank you. Are there any other amendments? Please be aware that as we have agreed to have a single debate on the budget and the setting of the council tax, if you wish to propose any amendments, this is your last opportunity to do so. Would any members who wish to speak either on the amendments proposed or the budget and the council tax proposed by the leader of the council please indicate? You will have up to 5 minutes each. Councillor Brian Stevenson.
I'm obliged to you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Councillor Henderson on being a jolly good Tory. He sounds like one, and he certainly convinced me tonight that he is. It was the usual, Madam Mayor, Tory budget, smug and complacent, with a touch of arrogance, very self-congratulatory, and of course that's what we've got used to in this chamber over a number of years. And having said that, Madam Mayor, the Conservative Party, of course, are not known for ideals and vision. And I think Councillor Beevers tonight has shown the differences between you and us. So, to continue on, Madam Mayor, I think it's really, the issue here is, and the wording is, sound common sense. Have you all got that? Sound common sense. Common sense to look at these very, very sensible and reasonable amendments. And let's look at them again. Let's go through what Councillor Beevers has just said, that this council fund free swimming during recognised Lancashire school holiday for all Wyre. Well, who could disagree with that? You obviously, when you did the budget, you must have not thought of this. That's why we need to remind you about it. You'd forgotten it, surely. We've moved to the second one, the same again. 2 portable youth shelters, again, vision, you'd obviously forgotten that. But of course that's in keeping with the Conservative Party as a whole, in Westminster as well, unfortunately. We moved to the third one, and of course I certainly expect Councillor Hodgkinson to be voting for this. I'm sure he will, hopefully, that someone will obviously point out to him that what the benefits of restoring this once beautiful park. So again, Madam Mayor, these are all sound common sense proposals. Now, I've said in the past about going into the reserves. I've opposed it in the past, about raiding the larder, but in this case I think it's totally different. I think we can afford it. As Councillor Beevers said, the money is there. We're not asking for a great deal, but the little bit we are asking for would make a great improvement to the environment and to people's lives. And I commend what Councillor Beavers has said, and I know that I will be voting for it very, very enthusiastically. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to, it's regarding the shelters, Lorraine. I remember a few years ago we actually built a shelter on King George's playing field, and far from reducing the antisocial behaviour, it made it even worse. They completely wrecked the shelter. It was covered in to begin with. They tore all the boarding down. There were needles around. There were drugs. There was bottles left, food wrappings left overnight. It was horrendous, and it went on for a lot. It just made everywhere unsociable. So that was taken down eventually because it destroyed it to such an extent that it was no longer feasible to use. I just hope if this does go through, it doesn't happen to your shelters.
Madam Mayor, whilst these proposals have some merit, and they're quite good ideas, but they do have issues in as much as they're stacked very much in the urban area and provide nothing at all for the young people of Wyre. In item 1 it says for all Wyre young people. Yep. Oh, that's great. Give the kids a stole mine. So therefore, if this particular motion, number 1, also had free travel passes, either for the bus or the ferry, then without that as an inclusion, I can't. Shelters. Why should the rest of Wyre provide shelters for the youth of urban Wyre? Any shelters we've got over our side, we've put up ourselves. Item 3, the council award Jubilee Gardens. The sum of money you're talking there could finish Priesel Park off. Sorry, Lorraine. Councillor Beavers.
It's not a debate, councillors. Can you speak individually? Make your comments. Thank you.
But as I say, it's too stacked against Wyre young people. If it was more inclusive, I'd be more in favour of it.
Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to speak about amendment number 1, which is about the swimming. The classes that we put on at all the leisure centres are all full, including Garstank swimming pool. We haven't got capacity for any more. We're very thankful for you to pay for the children that in your area, but we are opening those pools for the whole of Wyre, not just for the children that come from the ward what you represent. We have to charge. We have to charge to keep the pools at a certain level. People expect high quality, and that's what they get. And we have to charge for these, even if they are children or not. We keep the charges as low as we can, and we're very competitive. And we don't just have swimming for young people. We have various exercises and clubs and events for them to go to keep them healthy. And a lot of these are free, so we don't have to give swimming lessons for nothing. In fact, we can't give swimming lessons for nothing because we're overcapacitated now. So,
thank you, Councillor Bridge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is a good Tory budget, and what a compliment, being called a good Tory. I mean, this is what we all aim for. That's what the people of Wyre vote for. So that's a compliment. Thank you very much. I'd be glad for you to call me that any day of the week. So, again, lots of ideas have merit. I could come up with lots of ideas for my ward. We don't have the money. We are Tories. We're sensible. Is that somebody's phone? We've had the courtesy. It's gone off all night. It's just rude. Thank you. So we could come up with all sorts of things and spend our money time and time again, but you can only spend your money once. You dip in your reserves, there's nothing left. Times are hard. We all know that. So you don't touch your reserves. But as ever, Labour make a mess of the money, Tories step in and sort it out. As Margaret Thatcher said, that heroine, she said the problem with socialism is that they always run out of other people's money.
Thank you, councillors, you've had your say.
I'll say that again then. As Margaret Thatcher said, the first woman Prime Minister, and leader of a major political party, I suppose, on Women's Day, is that the problem with socialists is they run out of other people's money.
Councillor McKay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry I've got a sore throat. With the proposed amendments here, the free swimming, it's something I would agree with for young children. I like to see all young children to have the ability to go to swimming. The youth shelters, I'm in agreement with Patsy. I just think that could lead to more trouble. Jubilee Gardens is close to my heart because it's somewhere that I went as a child and it was amazing. It was brilliant for youngsters and it has been destroyed. I just think this is the wrong time and wrong place to be bringing this. We've got some really cracking officers, and like a project we're doing on Cotton Hall playing fields, we're working with the officers. We're not bringing it to the budget on the day of the budget, we're working with them. They're trying to help us find funding. And I just think there's a different way to go about this rather than turning up and maybe grandstanding in front of everyone, maybe work with our team of officers. You know, we've got a financial budget. This money that's going into balances, it's not going to sit in balances. We've got a huge deficit in 2 years, so tonight's not the night, I think, to be doing this.
Councillor Hodgkinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor, as Ryan brought me into it, I wanted to say something. Of course, his influence was that I was voting against the amendment, therefore voting against anything coming in to help Jubilee Gardens, which is nonsense, of course. I'm in favour of Jubilee Gardens getting a big facelift, and the Friends of Jubilee Gardens are working along those lines now, hoping over the next few years that we can rejuvenate the gardens. They've got some good plans going forward, and they've been discussing this for the last couple of years. Now, regarding the car park, I must admit, I was one of the movers that went for that car park in the first place. The reason was that we were trying to get spaces available on the car parks in the town centre for people that were just sitting on there, their cars just sitting on there, and they were going on the beach or walking on the prom or doing other things rather than shopping. We thought, which is not turned out as we hoped, obviously. So you can call that a mistake if you like. But we were hoping that the people then that was going along the beach, the promenade and Jubilee Gardens would park on there and so relieve the car parking and help the business people in the town centre. But as I say, Jubilee Gardens, 30 or 40 years ago, but over the years after that, vandalism crept in. It got to the stage of having to the park at the time. His first job every morning. Told me if we had another one, we'd have to have a recycling plant. Argue whether we made a mess of the park. That's a matter of opinion. But as I say, I am all in favour and of what I can do to bring the back park as a good asset for the council. But as I say, 30 or 40 years ago, it was an asset. But people are still looking at that park with rose-tinted glasses, and it was a disgrace when we came to take the decision to, as we thought at the time, to modernise it. As I say, whether you agree with that, it's just your opinion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor. Just a couple of points, really. First of all, just to correct the leader, we weren't the first in the region to introduce green waste charges. That was Pendle, so that should be noted. And I think we've heard a couple of comments about balances and reserves and how we're going to go broke in a couple of years. Well, anybody who went to the Labour briefing anyway would know that balances have gone up to £10.5 million. Some people might say that was prudent. Some people might say, well, you could use that money for something else. But so that means we're 639,000 better off this year, 824,000 better off next year, 500,000 the year after that, and 564. And then what is always mystified me is earmarked reserves, because some of these earmarked reserves stay the same year after year after year, and they're up to now £7.1 million. So with your earmarked reserves and your balances, you've got £18 million. That's quite a lot. So I think we need to look at what we should be doing with that funding, and whether, you know, we tell Fleetwood Market we can't afford to do anything with the roof. We keep telling them that. Well, with £18 million, you could do quite a lot with the roof. Yeah, so I think we need to look at how we use capital reserves. I think, this is off the top of my head, Madam Mayor, I think the prudent figure is about 900,000 is what is recommended. So we've got plenty of wriggle room there. So we need to look at what we should be doing with that money.
Councillor Shewan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I mean, these are, I mean, it's getting a little bit out of hand, this party business, you know. I mean, the fact is, I mean, we went to recently to a meeting facilitated by Councillor Berry on antisocial behaviour, and it is getting out of hand. It is getting. I mean, they're working very hard, doing everything they can. There's all kinds of police, YMCA, other people are all working very hard to bring this antisocial behaviour down, and it really is important. And I'm pretty sure that Councillor Gibson, thank you very much for the information, Councillor Gibson. As he says, we've got adequate funds to do. This is only a small thing. It's only a small thing to start with. But the fact is, we've got antisocial behaviour. It's growing in the community, particularly in the target areas we've been talking about. And it needs to be brought down. And these amendments would actually facilitate some sort of going somewhere to address a growing problem. And I think we really ought to consider these very seriously. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, we can go this one step together, surely. I mean, it's not a massive step. We're not asking you to break the bank or anything like that. We're just asking you to facilitate this few steps, which will help Councillor Berry in particular. It is his responsibility to address antisocial behaviour, and I feel he's doing a great job, without a doubt, and he's got a great team with him, and I think this would help, and I think let's do something together. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Sheeran, for some of his comments. I mean, obviously, we are trying to address certain problems of antisocial behaviour. And as a group, we did send out a questionnaire, as you know, to the young people of Fleetwood as to what facilities they would like to have, particularly as diversionary activities. We got over 800, I think probably 900 responses to that questionnaire. A team is now looking at those responses, and we will come forward with some firm proposals as what will be wanted in Fleetwood. But I don't want to preempt that decision of those questionnaires. I think it's wrong at this stage to go along with Councillor Beaver's ideas of getting youth shelters. I mean, we could fall into the trap that she says we should avoid, i.e. we shouldn't provide facilities without some sort of consultation that those facilities are needed. So let's get the consultation, let's see what's really wanted, let's see if we can provide them and finance them. There are sources of getting finance, and we'll do our best to come up with some solutions. But let's get the answers first before we proceed, and not make decisions that, quite frankly, we're not in a position to make at this moment in time.
Like to speak.
My microphone keeps disappearing. Seconders have reserved the right to speak. Councillor Fylde to speak first, then Councillor Alan Vincent. Councillor Fylde.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Conservative austerity and their cuts to public services has been harmful to the country, and its impact continues to be felt by many. I'm sure we all recognise the difficult task that councils are faced with, but that's not to say we should just accept reduced services as the way of things. And nor should we accept pay freezes for hard-working council staff as the norm. Wyre needs to limit the damage caused by the Conservative government, and for that reason a 3% increase is not unreasonable. As a society, we do need to push back on damaging Conservative ideology, and as a council we need to ensure stealth taxes such as the green waste charge and other charges such as those to community groups at Poulton-le-Fylde Theatre and the Marine Hall are kept in check. This council was projecting topping up current year balances by 0.7 million in October 2017. It's now projected to be 1.3 million. Similarly, in October 2017, the council was projecting taking 600,000 from balances in 18-19. It's now predicted we will be topping up balances by 222,000. The pattern of improved projections continues in other years. So I would suggest to members that although it's right to be cautious, we are perhaps being over cautious. It is for that reason we wish to help tackle a number of issues. Yes, there is a cost, but it's only a quarter of the monies now due to top up the balances in 18-19. But there will be a benefit to the community in terms of reduced antisocial behaviour, reduced obesity levels, and in terms of Jubilee Gardens, help towards providing a focal point for the creation of a park that people of Poulton-le-Fylde can be proud of. Council support for a community cafe on Jubilee Gardens would be good for the park, the residents, and also the council itself, with revenue raised, helping to fund other improvements, including the introduction of other revenue-raising features. So I'm seconding these three amendments wholeheartedly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I first of all, sir, I echo completely Councillor Mackay's previous statement about this. All these, apart from the first one, which is a revenue commitment, obviously, the other two are capital commitments, and they should have been raised at an earlier point in time, and they should have taken part in a process of trying to get capital bids onto the capital programme. So today is not the day to do that, and as a result of preferring showboating to material success, you are, in fact, stripping away from the very people that you purport to want to benefit the chance of having that benefit. So by manipulating the system, you fail the people that you support. In terms of the balances, the Romans said, if you want peace, prepare for war, and the same applies to money. If you want to be sure that you save the people's pockets for the future, then you maintain your balances. I'm interested to hear that Councillor Gibson, for the first time I've ever, as far as I can remember, suggests that this council has too high a balance now. He never said it before. I wonder why that was. He did, however, on many occasions, criticise his old friend, the Police and Crime Commissioner, for doing exactly that and having too high a balance figure. So clearly, balances, as far as Councillor Gibson is concerned, depends upon who holds them and whether he likes them or not. We have balances which are prudent and which will save the people and the residents of this Wyre from the effects of continuing austerity. And frankly, we are now in a position whereby services are under pressure, clearly because of the finance situation that us and many other councils find themselves in. In terms of the first amendment, the revenue commitment, Councillor Beavers put the same proposal to the County Council at their budget meeting recently, and if I recall, Councillor Turner, who's the portfolio holder concerned, agreed that he would actually have a look at it. So there's a bit of duplication going on here anyway. She's asking County and us to supply the same £10,000 to fund it, or it certainly looks that way. She talks about the grant that she put into it, which was £3,000, not £10,000, so we've gone up by 7. She also was doing it, as I understand it, for kids from deprived backgrounds, and now she wants it for everybody. Well, as far as I'm concerned, when times are tight, when money is tight, you must try and make sure that the kids who are most deprived get the most benefit. So I think that is a mistake, and that if you wanted to be genuinely provide a benefit, it should be targeted to kids from deprived backgrounds. And as that would be fewer kids, then that might be something that was possible for Lynn to fit into her programme as well. So you might actually achieve something by doing something more constructive. And if you go back in time, the interesting part about all of this is we're talking about swimming. Hands up who remembers Lancashire County Council running swimming pools, and one at Hambleton, for example, I think was there. One at Preesall was there for the kids to be taught to swim. The only swimming pool that counties stopped funding years ago that is now still running is in Garstang. The only other two that were running up till recently were in Lancaster, and Lancaster Labour Council have pulled the funding for them at their latest budget proposal. So you can hold your heads up high in terms of providing swimming lessons for kids, because you're the only council that still runs a pool that county abandoned years ago, and you should pat yourselves on the back for that. So we actually, as Conservatives, are fiscally aware, fiscally prudent, and we have the money to provide the services that this lot would squander. Support the original proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Beavers, would you please respond to the debate on your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say, you just make it up as you go along, Alan. You absolutely make it up. The swimming in Fleetwood was for all children of Fleetwood who lived in the FY7, regardless of whether Mummy and Daddy had a yacht or they had a coal cart. It didn't matter. Every child in Fleetwood swam. It cost £2,500 last year. And the year before it was £2,000, I do believe, and they only swim at school holidays. It isn't forever. If you read the amendment properly, Lynn, you would have realised that it was just on school holidays, not the rest of the time. But it doesn't really matter, because obviously you've told your guys how to vote. But I will do what I was going to do anyway. And surprise, surprise, I knew that you wouldn't be recommending that you were supporting these amendments, but I'll go on with it anyway. When speaking to the staff of Fleetwood Swimming Baths, they tell me of the children learning to swim during the school holidays in our swimming pool. They tell me how they watch as their confidence grows as they become stronger and better swimmers. I did that. It was me. I used my county council members' grant and I made a difference to the young people's lives. I enabled some to learn to swim and I gave others confidence. You, as Wyre councillors, can do the same. You can throw away the shackles of your Conservative overlords. You can stand and be counted. You can ignore your Conservative whip, who will have informed you before this meeting to not vote for any Labour amendments under any circumstances tonight. You can vote for Wyre residents tonight. You can do what you promised to do in your election leaflets. You can represent the people of Wyre. You can provide the services that make a difference to our communities. Stand with me and vote with me. Vote for the people you represent. Your people need you to stand with them, not against them. Please support the Labour amendments. Thank you.
Councillor Henderson, would you please respond now to the comments made during the debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just make a couple of comments. The alternative, point 2, purchase of 2 portable youth shelters to be used in Wyre, and as Councillor Ormrod said, that youth shelters do not guarantee that children will stop being nuisances. Recently, in Vicarage Park in Poulton, where there's been a youth shelter at the cost of £17,000 for quite a few years, some of the children use it very well indeed. Others come along and get rid of the children that are using it very well indeed, and they then decide to dominate it, bringing antisocial behaviour with them. That's a given. What happened, quite simply, was that LCC Youth Service, they have a bus that goes round troubled areas specifically for youths. They pitch up with leaflets of what the youth can do, alternatives to being nuisances. They stay there, they will turn up week after week, and they engage with the kids. They turn some of them round to stop being nuisances, but the determined nuisances wander off because they know they're being watched. So if you've got problems in specific areas, contact LCC Youth Services and ask them if the bus can be sent along with the adults in it who know how to talk to these children and know how to show them the right way. That's the first thing that should be done. Jubilee Gardens Friends. Garstang has a friends group, Thornton has a friends group, Memorial Park has a friends group, Vic Park has a friends group, Jubilee Gardens has a friends group. The idea of friends groups, quite simply, is to look at ways to improve the park, to try to facilitate things within the park, but also to seek funding. And then when they have sought funding, lottery is a good one, then they come along and they speak with us and we look at match funding. It doesn't work the other way round. If you want to move your park along, you move your park along. Parks are budgeted for. The money is there, it's in the budget, we do with it what we can. The Friends Group are supposed to take it a little bit further. All those parks I've mentioned, Jubilee's only just started of course, all those parks have all done very, very well with their friends groups. Councillor Gibson's points, very simple. Pendle is not in this region, it's in East Lancashire, and I certainly know that it was the first one in Lancashire to do it. And the roof on the market was repaired last year to a tune of £100,000 for the roof and the columns. So he's got that wrong as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We will now move to the vote. Would you please vote first on the amendment in favour of the amendment?
Vote, please. I'd just like to use
Yes, we've already voted on this then, please.
Please.
Voting's automatically going, so... It's on the other one.
Sorry, yes, and because the legislation requires us to have a recording. Vote to second it, we'll take a recorded vote on the we then move to the substantive motion, which is as in the report. The voice then, because for some reason the microphone's on this top.
Oh, this is working, Gary. Just.
Mine's not.
As there's only two parties and one independent, would it not be logical that we could class it as a name vote in any case?
No. The legislation requires that I read out names, and they say whether they are for, against, or abstain. I will read the names out, and you are voting on the proposed amendment as put forward by Councillor Beavers, seconded by Councillor Feld. Is that clear, members? Yes. Thank you. So those, in respect of the amendment, those if you say that you are for, against, or abstaining. Ian Amos. Against. Rita. Against. Councillor Barraclough. Councillor Berry. Against. Councillor Barry Birch. Against. Councillor Colette Birch.
Against.
Against. Councillor Catterall. Against. For. Councillor Gibson. For.
Against.
Councillor Holden.
Against.
Councillor Ingham.
Against.
Councillor Jones.
Against.
Councillor Kay.
Against. Against.
Councillor Robinson.
Against.
Councillor Stewart. Councillor Brian Stevenson. For. Matthew Vincent. Against. Councillor Michael Vincent. Against.
Councillor Bridge. Councillor Whitty, what do we do next?
That's members, 1 abstention, 11 for and 32 against, so the I would need to read out your names again now, I'm afraid, the record. So you are now voting for the substantive motion, which is, as in the report, so when I read your name out, can you please say whether you are for, against, or abstaining for the substantive motion, which is the recommendations on page 36 of the report 3. Sorry, that's the business plan. 3.1, page 40, 3.1, 3.2 through to 3.4. Ian Amos. Rita Amos. Marge Anderton. Councillor Ballard. Councillor Beavers.
Against.
Councillor Berry. Barry Birch. Councillor Colette Birch. Councillor Bowen. Councillor Bridge. Councillor Cartridge. Councillor Catterall. Councillor Collinson. Councillor Ruth Duffy. Councillor Ellison. Councillor Fail. Councillor Gibson. Councillor Henderson. Councillor Holden. Councillor Ingham. Councillor Jones. Councillor Kay. Councillor Lees. Councillor Kay. Councillor Moon. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Robinson. Councillor Shewan. Councillor Smith. Councillor Brian Stevenson. Councillor Evelyn Stevenson. Councillor Anne Turner. Councillor Sean Turner. Councillor Alan Vincent. Councillor Matthew Vincent. Councillor Michael Vincent. And Councillor Wilson. Abstention, 11 against and 32 for.
The recommendations are approved. That concludes the budget debate. The next item is notices on motion. There are no notices on motion, Stephen, so that concludes the meeting. For attendance.